High above the crucible, in one of the flying cities of the Sanctum, a ragtag crew is brought into the courtroom. 2 humans, a duck person, a sheep, and 3 elves are brought before the court. Surrounded by spirits and gleaming knights, the judge, an imperious-looking suit of armor, looks down at them and says, "How do you plead?" Hello, and welcome back. I am Royce Rosewood, your host and storyteller, and this is Sphere Hoppers, where we are following the increasingly complicated storylines of our adventurers and villagers. Currently, the villagers of Hyranic and the crew of the Prosperous Performance, which the ship is no more, so I don't know why I keep calling them that, but are on a quest from the Archon Viceroy Orionet, who needs to retrieve 3 caches of the precious substance amber. One of our teams partially recovered some amber from the Martians, and this team has been apparently led into a trap. The Knights of the Sanctum expected their arrival and were there at the gates ready to take them in. However, the plan was to use perplexing sophistry. That is, to plead their case before the courts. They had not actually committed any crime yet. How can they be held for this crime? So that was the plan going forward. But as always, we're going to roll our die of fate and see what happens. 1-. Okay, that's an interrupt scene. It's a negative NPC. So let's see what we get on our NPC list here. 5 followers of the stag. Oh no. Oh, I was worried that they were going to come back at some point. So, as you may recall, the villagers of Hyranic were sort of in the midst of this conflict between 2 gods. There was the Devourer, a giant worm creature, and then there was the stag, sort of an ethereal, magical being. Devourer became ascendant, and the followers of the stag decided to go off and do their own thing. Well, apparently what they have done, and this makes sense to me, that they have sort of thrown their lot in with the Sanctum, being sort of high-minded and maybe a little judgmental and a little bit self-righteous. I think they would have fit in very well. So we rolled a negative, so I think this is not going to go well. So Gabrima comes forward and says, "If I may speak, I know some of these individuals. I come from the world from whence they came. And I can tell you even then, they were against our ways. So while they have not perhaps committed this particular crime, I cannot vouch for their character." Well, that's not great. That's going to kind of work against them. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to make a roll. We'll call this our perplexing sophistry roll. 9 or higher, the elves are able to convince Sanctum to let them go. But anything less than that, because they have been spoken against, we're going to make this more difficult, right? So they need a 9 or higher. Huggermugger, this little guy we've been calling Vivo, steps forward. "We have not yet done anything. I do not see how we can be held for a crime which we have not yet committed. Even the Knights of Sanctum, in their laws and sense of justice, must know this." 7. Nope. If Gabrima and the followers of the stag had not come in against them, this might have worked, but not today. The suit of armor looks down at them and says, "It is not for this crime, but for other petty crimes which we have evidence against you," which it might presumably be the case. We now also hold your associates who have been spoken against. Punishment for all of you. Okay, well, that did not go great. Well, I'm looking through our other Shadows cards, and we've already seen a Lights Out, but there's another Lights Out elf knocking out 2 people. So I think maybe this is going to be our next plan. So as they are led off, presumably by some, knights in armor, down the corridors to whatever holding cells or prisons that they have here in the Sanctum. The elves are going to try that old trick of trying to escape and knocking the guards' heads together to knock them out. And we'll see how that goes. So anyway, that is our plan. Let's see what the Die of Fate has to say about that. Okay, Die of Fate has given us a plus, which doesn't really mean anything if it's the expected scene, but I imagine things might go a little bit better than usual. Okay, let's try that. We're going to have Nexus, who seems kind of scrappy, try to escape and knock out these guards. 11! Great! So, they turn a corner. They're being led by these guards. And once they're kind of like far enough away from central crowds and kind of the main things. I mean, there's 7 of them. So they maybe have 4 guards surrounding them at the corners, leading them with their swords or their lances. Nexus, being a sneaky elf, is able to slip out of his bonds, sneak behind and do the classic, bang the guards' heads together on 2 of them. The other 2 guards, turn, but by now, the other elves are free, causing chaos, tripping the guards, knocking them out, slipping by them. Even Fleecy, even our little sheep, gets in a little knock with a tiny little lamb's foot. And they escape. So the guards are knocked out. They are loose in the cities of the Sanctum. They have this other card, which is very evocative, called Stir Up Trouble. To create a distraction, as they escape back through crowded areas, they're just going to try to do, as suggested here on this card, kind of make, whatever denizens there are kind of turn against each other, create a fight, create a distraction. They kind of go about, maybe there's kind of more of like a marketplace area. And they come up through stalls, and they're just like poking people and prodding people and, doing little shock things, just to kind of like irritate people and turn them on against each other. So they're going to try to cause chaos in this marketplace. All right. Here's our Stir Up Trouble roll. All right, 7. Okay, success with a complication. Does work, right? And the marketplace kind of erupts into this cascading conflict. The sellers and the buyers and the penitents and, the monks and whoever else is here turn on each other, and it's this huge fight. But I think maybe the complication is our group gets separated in the chaos. They kind of split off into different groups. So let's see how that goes. Okay. So we've got Havrina and Zavina on one side, Fleecy and Macthan, and we'll get our elves here. All right. One on here, and which go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All right. Havrina and Zavina and Vivo kind of get shunted off in one direction, and Selwyn, Nexus, Macthan, and Fleecy, the lamb, get kind of moved off into another. Okay. What are we trying to do at this point? So they're still trying to escape. They're still trying to avoid detection and capture by the Sanctum, but they also, still need to retrieve this gleaming shield, and I know I said it was a cache of amber. I think because we've got Selwyn the Fence, I think maybe the idea was get this shield, get this religious artifact, and then sell it. They've got a buyer who wants it. Let's follow Havrina, Zavina, and Vivo. And we decided that Havrina has a skill of gambling, who was an innkeeper, ran a table at the back of their inn. So maybe, this is a Sanctum city, but I'm wondering if they might be able to find sort of a seedy underbelly. Sanctum runs a pretty tight ship, but I'm wondering if even under the watchful eye of the knights and spirits, there exists, maybe just like a little kind of hidden away den of relative iniquity. So we'll do it this way. We'll give Havrina a roll to see if she can find some place like that where they can lay low, and we'll see if that's successful. So this is Havrina's find iniquity roll. Okay, that's a 9. That's good. Okay, so the question is there something to find? I'm going to call that very unlikely, but here's how we'll do that. If this is a yes, then there's like an actual, like, you know, criminal presence here on the Sanctum. And if it's a no, it's like a very mild, very low level kind of seedy thing. We're calling it very unlikely. All right, 19. That's a yes. So there is an actual criminal presence hidden away here in the cities of the Sanctum. Oh, that's very interesting. And Havrina is able to, with her innkeeper sense and her gambler sense, find it. And so they go down the hidden alleyways, turn a corner, and they see a door. I'm imagining that it must be run by elves, being sort of the de facto criminal organization here on the Crucible. Is that the case? Does Vivo have ties here? I'm going to call that very likely that Vivo would be able to get them in. Okay, 21, yes. Oh, let's come up with a name for it. I'm going to draw an aspect card and an anchor card. The Swift Shrine. So maybe if it's even made to look like sort of a minor shrine, and so they go in and, you know, there's maybe like a little fountain and there's like little seating benches, someone in robes kneeling before whatever figurine. But then at the back, there's like a secret hidden door, and Vivo is able to recognize, you know, sort of the symbol and the code, and, you know, push the right buttons on the, you know, the hidden buttons on, you know, whatever carving on the wall, and it sort of slides open, and they go in, and it's like classic, it's dark, and it's smoky, and there's a bar, and, you know, there are elves, and, you know, there's a knight or two even here who's in the pocket of whoever. And yes, there's a gambling table at the back. Now that they've found it, Havrina's going to use her gambling, get a place at like one of the gaming tables, get some like basic information, get kind of the lay of the land. Zavina, being a pilot, has probably seen, you know, her fair share of, you know, CD ports and stuff. So, you know, she's probably feeling, you know, pretty comfortable here, and Vivo is as well. What a nice little team we've got. All right. So Havrina is going to make her gambling roll, you know, to kind of play, not necessarily try to win, just try to like work the table, get the conversation, and see if they've learned anything helpful or interesting. Okay, 6. No. So she probably loses a little bit of money, whatever money she had. She loses a little bit of it. You know, she's an outsider here. She's never been seen here before. So, you know, she's trying to talk at the table. Hit a dead end for now, but they're here. They're at the Swift Shrine. Now, these guys, they have gone off in a different direction. I don't really have an idea yet for what they do. So I'm going to roll our die of fate, see if that points us in a direction. Okay, 2-. That's a negative event for one of the player characters. Well, now in this case, these are our 4 player characters. So we'll call them 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 2. Something bad for Macthan. Huh, what could that be? You know, I'm not sure. And I'm realizing I don't just have like a general oracle available. So I'm just gonna grab my tarot deck. So this is part of my patchwork tarot deck. I'll do a video explaining about what this is at some point. But short story is, this is cards from many, many different decks to create kind of a collage patchwork style. I use this for writing. We'll draw one and see if this tells us something bad that happens to Macthan. Okay, well, this is an interesting one. This is Beast from X-Men as the King of Wands. Here's what I'm imagining. Macthan, we know, is sort of a blustering, eccentric, balloonist. I have no idea if the stories that he tells are true or not. As they're, escaping from the marketplace in total chaos, he runs into sort of, as they're running, sort of bumps elbows with, maybe I'm trying to think of who would be here in the Sanctum, like a monk or an ambassador, someone of some station who also has, a large mustache and also has a similar demeanor. Macklin runs into this person, and this person says, I say there, good sir, you have stumbled into me. You have offended me. You must apologize, as is the want of a gentleman. And Macklin says, I never apologize. I once took a balloon up to the volcano of the god of wrath, and I did not even apologize to him. So how can I apologize to you? And I'm going to say, some sort of ambassador, some sort of bureaucrat. Bureaucrat, that's the word I'm looking for. Well, I may not be the god of wrath, but I still deserve my honor, and you have offended me. And Macklin says, ha! I am the one that should be offended to be in the presence of such a miscreant. The point is, Macklin has sort of met his equal, a similar type, let's say. Give this person a name. All right, 67. Raph. 47. In. Rafine, we'll say. And the elves and the sheep were kind of like, I don't know. Like, let's not get involved. We're trying to get out of here, Macklin. And Macklin says, no, this is a matter of honor. Well, geez, does this turn into a duel? I mean, this seems bad if Macklin is, on the run and is being looked out for. It seems like this would draw a lot of unnecessary attention to himself. He must have some sort of pistol or something. Yeah, so Selwyn maybe comes over and is like, listen, Macklin, I know, we haven't been working together for very long, but we really cannot get, entangled like this. This is kind of not a great idea. And Macklin said, oh, this is a matter of honor. Gentlemen, and I will not be so, shunted aside like this. I think the big question right now is, do they just leave him? Do they just this is a complication, we cannot be bothered with this? I mean, I think they have to. I don't think there's any reasoning with Macklin. So they just they just kind of watch and they're just okay, dude, you do your duel. So they're going to go off and do their thing while Macklin is entangled in gentlemanly affairs. So they are going to go. They also need to hide. Find a hold up somewhere. So that's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to hide. So we'll roll for that, and then we'll follow up with Macklin. Okay, 8. So expected scene. Okay, they are trying to hide. We know we're in a city. Let's draw a location card. Oh, okay. The gates, and this points to a deity, but here in the Sanctum, it's sort of the church. So maybe they reach the gates. That's it. So they were able to escape. They got to the edge of the city, and they've gotten back to the gates and the port. I'm sure the ship, has been impounded, or it's at least under watch, under guard. But they're going to try to get back to the ship. Maybe Nexus can rappel down and yeah. Here's what we'll do. We'll send Fleecy. We'll send the sheep. The sheep they'll be like, okay, you go make a distraction. Go distract the guards, and Nexus will come. Try to sneak down and take control of the ship, the Zeppelin. Let's see how that goes. 7. Okay, this works, but there's a complication. The guards see Fleecy kind of run up, this cute little lamb. These big guys in armor, and they lean down and they're, oh, look, a little lamb. Oh, so cute. Oh, my goodness. And they're distracted, and it works. Nexus rappels down from wherever tower or parapet they were able to climb up, gets into the Zeppelin, is able to fire it up as best they can. They're not the pilot, and they're not the Macklin. And, Selwyn's able to run off. The guards say, oh, you innocent lamb, you stay here. We protect you. Let's go get those elves. Anyway, the complication is the guards are so enamored with Fleecy that they try to protect them. So Nexus and Selwyn are able to get onto the ship and get off and escape. Fleecy, for now, is in the care of these knights. Oh man, we just keep splitting them. Ah! Let's follow up with Maxon and Rafine are going to hold a duel, a gentleman's duel. And I imagine word of this trickles back to the Swift Shrine. And I'm sure betting starts to happen. And so they hear word of this and they're like, oh no, that sounds like Macthan. Okay, we better go check this out. So they go and, there's a plaza and there's a crowd. There's some sort of sanctioned authority, whether this duel is actually allowed or not. It's sort of in a quasi area, but there's, definitely illegal betting kind of going on around the edges. So that is our expected scene. This duel. Okay, character increase. So altered scene. So someone who we did not expect to be there is there. It's either going to be the followers of the stag, or it's going to be Fleecy. Those are the ones that I can think of that would be relevant so far, and that would be here in the city. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So the followers of the stag are here because Gabrima knows Macthan from Hyranic. And it's like, that's one of the escaped prisoners. But there's sort of this culture around this duel. They're like, yes, we know, but they have to resolve their gentleman's duel. The followers of the stag are here. These three are still remaining hidden, kind of on the edges, but Macthan has definitely been found. How does this duel go for Macthan? We'll sort of leave it up to the dice. All right, Macthan, make your dueling roll. 7. So that's a success with a complication. They stand at paces. Macthan turns and draws this pistol that fires off, I imagine, this sort of noxious cloud of, gunpowder. Shoots this bureaucrat in the leg and goes down. But then I think the complication, the thing is, we've already established immediately after the followers of the stag and, whatever guards are still around, immediately swoop in and capture Macthan. And there's these three kind of nearby, and it stands to reason that the elves would probably have some sort of communication device, right? Vivo is like, come in, and Nexus comes back and it's like, okay, we've got the ship, and it's like, all right, well, we're in the plaza. They've got Macthan, who just won this duel, but he's been captured. Can you rescue us? Can you pull us out? Well, we'll try. Nexus and someone are going to try to bring the ship around, try to find this plaza, and swoop in. Nexus is going to rappel down. They're going to try to pull Macthan and the others out. No, that doesn't work. Because they don't know what they're doing, right? They don't know how to navigate this thing. Their pilots and their balloonist are elsewhere. So it's kind of like, knocking into things. This Zeppelin, and Nexus is like swinging down while Selwyn's trying to operate it. And it's just not working. And so they're not able to pull out the others yet. And so they just have to take the ship out and just go, and whatever Sanctum ships are following, I know in the game they've got these flying motorcycles, so maybe there are these knights on these flying motorcycles that are following the Zeppelin, and it escapes. All right, so let's follow that. Let's follow the chase scene of the Zeppelin trying to escape from these Sanctum knights. Expected scene. Okay, they're trying to dodge, they're trying to escape. How does that go? Poorly, I imagine. 3, yeah. So they don't know what they're doing. They crash the Zeppelin into some building. Jeez, I mean, they would get captured if they're not grievously injured, which they may be. So those guys are captured too, and now their Zeppelin is destroyed. Oh man. Oh, this is bad. Okay, so these 3 are captured. Fleecy's in the care of some knights who won't let her go because she's so cute. But these 3 are still, connected to the underbelly, the underworld. They go back to the Swift Shrine, and they're going to try to, I guess, find allies, see if anybody else knows about this gleaming shield, see if anybody has any ins in like the prison. Try to break these guys out. 1 minus. So that is... Okay, so one of these three. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, Havrina. So I'm guessing what that means is Havrina cheated while she was gambling, even though she was losing, into the shrine, and like this big bulky elf kind of comes up and is like, "Hey, I ran the tapes back, and we don't allow cheaters. If you're gonna cheat, you gotta cheat good. You can't get caught. You're out of here." Wow, this is just going terribly bad. And can they maybe do their best? You know, Vivo's going to step in as shadows. You know, they're going to use all their scoundrelry to try to make their case. But it's not looking good. 7. Okay, so success but a complication. And so the big bouncer is like, "All right, I hear you out. Elves is good people. And if they're with you, okay. But I got to take you to the big boss. The big boss is probably going to want something." Take her out back. All right. I'm guessing that this big boss is probably an elf. We'll say very likely, but we'll roll. Very likely that this person is 87. No. Okay. So I've got this list of common species in the Crucible. So I'll roll this 20-sided die. Okay, 10. A human. Okay. Human working with shadows. Not unusual. All right. We'll roll them up a name. 59. Pat. 57. Patlos. I'm going to draw a secondary figure card just to tell us a little bit more about Patlos, something that's evident right away. This one's interesting. Find redemption for involvement in event. So let's pull an event. A surrender. So they get taken into the back room. They meet this human. I imagine he's wearing like a military jacket. He's got maybe what was once a military haircut, but has now let grow long. I'm imagining black painted fingernails for some reason. I'm just wildly spinning my imagination here. Kind of a tough, grizzled look. He says, "I've been having my people keep an eye on you since you've arrived here in the city of the Sanctum. You've made quite a mess of things, haven't you? Getting caught, causing chaos in the marketplace, crashing a Zeppelin, challenging bureaucrats to duels. It seems like you people don't understand how things work around here. But I appreciate your grit. I appreciate your tenacity. I know what it's like to have to surrender to a force." And he kind of like gets this like misty-eyed look at, you know, he's obviously got some sort of past, you know, some sort of military past. He had to surrender. And he kind of carries this kind of guilt. "I know good help when I see it. So I'm going to make you a deal." "No, that's not true. I'm not making you a deal. I'm telling you what you're going to do for me. And then you're going to do it. Do we have an understanding?" And Zavina comes back and says, "Well, what is it that you'd like us to do?" And I think, my friends, we will find that out next time on Sphere Hoppers. Thanks so much for following along. Geez, this gets so crazy. I'm loving this freeform play. We introduced my tarot deck this time. We've got all sorts of stuff going on. And then don't forget, we've still got a whole other team in the tunnels of the demons underneath the Crucible that we'll have to follow up with them at some point. But in the meantime, this particular segment of the quest is going horrendously bad, as one might expect. So thanks so much for following along. If you were enjoying this, please like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, tell a friend. If you're having fun with this, there's probably other people who would enjoy this too. So thanks so much. This is Sphere Hoppers. Keep hopping.